Go.
Hello, my name is Cody Engelhardt, and today we'll be talking about genocide and how it affects everybody. So not only genocide we'll be talking about though, and as if it has intent or not. And our research-based question that we all came up together was with, does genocide have intent? And if so, is it forgivable or not? So we'll start this presentation off to talk about a little about genocide. So when we started this research, we thought about right away, without researching genocide, was Holocaust in Rwanda. But like doing our research, first thing that we figured out was genocide's been going on since the 13th century, when Pope Innocent III had the Albini Crusade in France, which eliminated the religion Catholicism. But the term genocide wasn't established until 1944. That's when Raphael Lemkin, a Polish lawyer with Jewish descent, coined the term. The reason for coining this term was because he wanted something to explain what the Nazis did in the Holocaust. He formed this word out of two meanings: geno, which is Greek for race or tribe, which described the Jewish race, and then a Latin prefix side, which is killing. But not until 1948 this was criminalized international law. This is when the UN had a convention and met up and came up with this term. Genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such, killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mentally harm to members of the group, deliberately on the group, conditions of the calculated to bring about its physical destruction, in whole or in part, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, forcibly transferring children of the group into another group. And when we were researching, genocide was a very broad subject, so we couldn't really find intent behind it, so we narrowed it down to Adolf Hitler, because that was one person we could focus on to figure out if it had intent or not. And the reason for choosing him was because he's really well-known, convincing, very powerful, and now Kristen will be telling about Hitler.
So since genocide is so broad, we decided to focus on Adolf Hitler because he's known by so many people. He's known to have one of the worst genocides ever. So we thought it'd be easier to focus on him because he has such a big background. And we wanted to know about his growing up because we thought if he grew up and had a hard life, then obviously he had intent to harm the Jews and whoever else he killed. So starting off with Adolf. Adolf was born April 20th, 1889. When he was young, he became fixated on warfare, and after finding a book about the Franco-Prussian War and it belonged to his father, it was a picture book, and he I guess fell in love with just warfare and just wanted to learn about it. So Hitler thought about becoming a priest at a young age. I found that very interesting because priests are known as one of the most innocent people, and he wanted to become a priest, and it's kind of ironic because later in life he ended up killing a bunch of people. The death of his brother Edmund Hitler deeply changed him at a young age, and he became detached to a lot of people. And after the death of his brother, he had a really shaky relationship with his father. He began to develop German nationalists, which is the cultural unity of Germans. Shortly after this, he became loyal to only Germany, which was weird because he was an Austrian citizen. And he sang I'm going to pronounce this wrong, the Deutschland Died, which was the Song of Germany, instead of singing the Austrian anthem. At a young age, him and all of his friends sang the Song of Germany, which led to his love for Germany. As he got older, he lost all of his money dedicating his life to art because he was really interested in painting, and he became broken homeless. And during the time he was broken homeless, Vienna, where he lived at the time, was a hotbed for racism. The mayor of Vienna thought Eastern Jews would come and overthrow him, which was why it made Vienna nervous at the time about Jewish people. He was a confirmed anti-Semite but had Jewish friends, and that means that he hated all Jews basically, but he had Jewish friends, which was again ironic. He moved from Vienna to Munich, and people believe he did this to join the Austrian army, but he stated that he did not want to join the Austrian army because of all the races that were involved. He served in the Bavarian army as an Austrian citizen, and he exclaimed that Hitler exclaimed that the thought of war was the greatest experience ever. He just loved fighting in war. He joined the group, the the National Socialist German Workers' Party, and he actually was the one to design the swastika, which was the group symbol. He renounced his Austrian citizenship in 1925 and didn't have citizenship for 7 or 8 years, and then shortly after that he became a German citizen. He was later appointed chancellor and became very strong in German politics. So it didn't take him long to rise to power after he became a German citizen, because he was a very powerful man. Moving into the Holocaust a little bit, it was led by Hitler, Himmler, and Heydrich, which were, I guess, two of his friends who believed the same things he did. Hitler preached. He was a very powerful speaker, and he was very persuasive. He was known to have a lot of authority over people, and he preached in one of his speeches, "We shall regain health by eliminating the Jews." So when he said this, obviously, his intent was to kill the Jews. He influenced a lot of people to agree with him. Shortly after that, Hitler approved Nazi squads to invade Poland, which was the start of it all. 5.5 million Jews were killed from the years of 1939 to 1945. 2 million Polish and 3 million Soviet prisoners. In 1941, Hitler invaded Yugoslavia and Greece. Later in December of that year, Hitler told his people to exterminate the Russians. So you could see that he wasn't just going after Jews, he was pretty much going after everybody that would get in the way of him becoming more powerful. In 1935, Hitler banned sexual relations between Aryans and Jews. Aryans was his race, he wanted the perfect Aryan race. And he banned sexual relations with Jews, which obviously shows again he didn't want any relations with Jews at all. When German forces were defeated in 1942, Hitler completely lost it and went crazy, which I think was the start of the real problem. Is he realized that he was defeated and he isn't powerful, so he just went crazy. His actions were completely immoral and devastating to everybody. Even today, it's still a devastating topic. So based off the research we did on Adolf Hitler, we believe that as individuals, as a group, that his intentions were there from the start. He grew up with a rough life. He was really interested in warfare, which was a hint that he was going to be crazy when he was older. At a young age, he had love for Germany, dedicated his life to Germany, and just became completely crazy. So would you forgive someone who did this to millions of people? Now we will tell you a little bit about what intent really is, and keep everything that I just said in mind about Hitler. So, go ahead, Nick.
I'm Michael Frank, and today I'm going to be talking to you about whether or not Hitler intended for the Holocaust to occur. And as we have previously stated, we as a group believe Hitler did have an intent behind the genocide and through the Holocaust. As Kristen previously spoke about his childhood, many signs indicate that Hitler had purposely intended the Holocaust to happen, and as a child he attended a Nazi group in which they instilled and taught the Nazi doctrine. And the Nazi doctrine is the views that entail non-Jewish Caucasian gene pool and are especially of a Nordic stock. And it's a descendant of a prehistoric people who spoke Indo-European and were more specifically of German descent. In Nazi ideology, the Nordic race was the purest example of the original racial stock of those who were called the Proto-Aryans. And Hitler himself believed in the perfect Aryan race. Hitler believed in creating the perfect Aryan race by exterminating everybody that he did not have a use for, and began by killing members of the gay community as well as the mentally ill individuals. As this began, it kind of led into developing more nationalities instead of just homosexuality and mentally ill individuals. And the statistic we found by the end of the war was Hitler began killing the Jewish community as well as any others that would interfere with his views, such as 6,250,000 European Jews, 3 million Soviet prisoners of war, 3 million Polish Catholics, 700,000 Serbians, 250,000 Roma, Sinti, and Latari individuals, 80,000 Germans of political, religious, and resistance, 70,000 handicapped Germans, 12,000 homosexuals, and 2,500 Jehovah's Witnesses. We found that at the holocaustchronicle.org, which is a non-profitable organization that does a lot of research with the Holocaust. And then another quote that I found that Hitler said that kind of states that he did have an intent was, "Humanitarianism is the expression of stupidity and its cowardice." So within that quote itself, he's saying that the human race is cowardly and stupid, and that his views are pretty much the only views that matter. And humanity's obligations are concerned wholly with the welfare of the human race. So stating that humanitarianism is stupid and cowardly is just like obscene within itself. And Hitler had continued his genocide during World War II until the great fall of his nation and the loss of his war, where he eventually went insane and ended up committing suicide. And this was an act of radical evil to purposely harm individuals simply because he can, which leaves us with the question, can Hitler himself be forgiven?
Hello, I'm Tyler Temple, and today I will be talking about whether Hitler is able to be forgiven for his intentions of genocide. As Mike stated, Hitler did have intent for genocide. Whether this is forgivable or unforgivable, there was a lot of scholarly articles and doctrines that were put out to say that this was unforgivable. Everyone has different views on forgiveness. We came across a book called Crime of Destruction and the Law of Genocide by Carolyn Fournette. She states that forgiveness is a moral concept and not a legal one. This led us to the question, is forgiveness really necessary in this situation? There were two reasons why it really wasn't necessary. There was no consequences without forgiving. So it was a moral concept to begin with. You didn't legally have to do it. To ask for forgiveness and just get let off the hook, is he really asking forgiveness and being sincere for what he did? Or just wanting to get let off the hook and not really worry about what actually happened? At this point, forgiveness wasn't even an option, and it was basically an impossible task to a lot of people. This brings us to the question of, is Hitler forgivable or unforgivable? Maybe not for the acts he did, but for the intentions he had to perform those acts. Through research, we found there were two similar reasons why Hitler was unforgivable. The one was only what is reparable can be forgiven. This is basically saying what can be fixed can be forgiven. So this can't be fixed. You can't fix a million people's lives, millions of others. The second reason was only if the perpetrator asked victims for forgiveness. Hitler's dead, and so are all the millions of people, so he can't ask the people for forgiveness. Is there intent to genocide? If so, does intent lead to be forgiven or unforgiven? As a group, we believe these acts are unforgivable due to straight intention in planning out acts of pure evil. He is dead and he can't ask for forgiveness, therefore Hitler committed an unforgivable act.
Thank you.